I think what people do, they misquote. They miss the underlying quote. It's about the discipline that you're looking for, about being uniform, about showing up on time, about properly dressed. You know what I mean? People ran with the hair thing, not understanding it was more of an overall thing. And I want to be clear on that because listen, we in this new, and every time you come on here, you're interviewing. I want people to understand that if somebody see you, that you can still coach. So I just want to clear that up.
Oh, shoot. Well, Coach, man, I mean, it's in my blood. You know, I like tell people I had a ball in my hand before I even knew my name. So, you know, and it wasn't because of me. It's because I came behind eight fabulous men. So I appreciate that. But
hey, Coach Cole, I'm gonna set up. We set up to get out of here a little early, but I'm gonna open up the phone lines in case anybody want to call and have a comment, anything that was said or heard today. Before we get out of here,
I do want to bring up one thing.
Go ahead.
And I don't know, Coach, you might have missed this. So we had a little bit of an issue on social media and about fake news. And I'm going to pull this up because I think what our show does is give a lot of information. So I'm going to share my screen again and show you a tweet that was talking about my AD. Did that come up?
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, wait a minute. I wonder. Oh, there we go. All right. So, Coach, this particular Twitter platform called HBCU Premier Sports, they put this out yesterday morning. HBCU Premier Sports will be dropping the disturbing news this evening out of Florida A&M athletics. Sometimes you can't sweep things under the rug, and some things need to be reported. Now, Coach, we didn't know what the hell was going on. We didn't know if we had a violation. We didn't know if somebody had stolen some money and things like this. So, Coach, come to find out that this particular platform has saw a video of a young man. We had a player that got hurt at the SWAC tournament. SWAC baseball tournament. And the young man was just speaking and saying it. And because he did not say our AD name, this man took it upon himself basically to impugn the integrity of my AD. And Coach, I'm gonna say this. We talk about this a lot of times about this. This is why people like this platform. But I got to put this out because I'm gonna say this. When you come on and say that you are HBCU platform, and then you put out fake news and lies, you're not supporting the cause that you call yourself. And the thing that was most disappointing is when people showed that the young man's parents had thanked the athletic staff, family, and the AD. He still was not man enough to say, you know what, I made a mistake. I apologize to AD Suggs and the Florida A&M University.
And
so,
when
Coach,
you say this man, who's HBCU Premier?
Well, we don't know exactly his name. We know it's a guy, and he hides behind this particular his account. Correct.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that because what's so important what we do here is that, you know, a lot of people can do the way we do it. But the one thing about HBCU Coach, we always about facts. And this bothered me, not because I know AD Suggs and she's been a guest on the show, but this is the reason why a lot of times, Coach, we talk about this, is that we are sometimes our own worst enemy. When we should be uplifting and supporting when we're looking for gotcha stuff. So it was just disappointing. And the fact that, again, this person would not then turn around and make a retraction and say, hey, you know, I got it wrong. I've got, you know, various accounts that the young man's parents and himself appreciate what Florida A&M did. And then just, you know, then blocked everybody. But the reason why, again, I wanted to point that out is because, Coach, I appreciate you bringing on these coaches because to Rocky's point sometime, and I think Rocky understands this, we don't know these coaches. We only see them from the outside. We make a lot of assumptions. The fans make a lot of assumptions. There are a lot of untruths about our HBCU coaches, but they get to come on this show and then they get to see another side of the coaches. And then they talk about some of the challenges that they have because a lot of people on the outside do not know. And Coach, you know this, a lot of people that sit on stand have no clue how hard your job is. They have no clue.
You know, Mr. Campbell, the thing that bothered me about this story wasn't necessarily the false accusation or the implied mismanagement of a situation by your AD. That's not what bothered me. What bothered me was they used a terrible, tragic situation and tried to co-opt it in order to damage the reputation of Florida A&M and the AD. The young man had a horrible injury, and come to find out he had to have multiple surgeries. But now he has to be put in a position where he almost has to defend the people that cared for him in that situation. You know what I mean? The people that did come see him, the people that did come visit him, the people that, you know what I mean? Like he has to say something, or his family has to say something in the midst of this very trying time. That's what I think is quite frankly despicable and disgusting, that this account holder would use this particular situation to try to, imply that FAMU did something improper along with AD Suggs. Like there's something else there, with this story, when it was just an unfortunate, freakish accident that ended the kid's career. And that's so unfortunate. And his family has to deal with that.
Rocky, I couldn't have said it any better. And the thing about it, which, like you said, when you write this salacious headline, swept under the rug, like something was being hidden, like something was done wrong. And then all you have is a video of the young man just talking, about and thanking people and that he's going to be all right and move forward with his life. I just think that this is just the worst part of, like I said, what I hate about social media. And again, it just bothers me. So like I said, again, I just want to bring that up. I know we got people, like I said, they want to call in. Please do call in, and we do want to hear from him. But Coach, I appreciate you just giving me a time, because I just wanted to address this, because a lot of people ask me about this. And like I said, it's just disappointing, because again, and what the thing about it is and I'm going to say this for AD Suggs, because I know she talked about this on this show. She was like, hey, I rode on the bus with these guys, and I want to make sure all of our student athletes are taken care of. And then to use this picture of her and to say she's sweeping things on the rug, I just can't condone that. And I hope this person understands why he will never get any support for any of us. So, Coach, I appreciate you just letting me do my FAMU minute and that part of the show.
We go just make that a permanent. Hey, Rocky, I just sent you something. Can you put that up on the board? I just emailed y'all.
You emailed it to me?
I mean, text it.
Okay, let me look at it.
Or do I need to email?
No, you good.
While you're doing it, I want to let everybody know the 16th annual Black College Football Hall of Fame inductee ceremony will commence on June the 7th, 2025 at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, Georgia, beginning at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The Black College Football Hall of Fame inductee ceremony is presented by the hometown Atlanta Falcons. Listed below are the Hall of Famers: Henry Dyer, Grambling State; Fred T. Pop Long, Wiley College; Jacquay Nunley, Florida A&M; Rayshawn Mathis, Bethune-Cookman; Dominique Roger Camati, Tennessee State; Jay Skywalker, Howard University. Everybody knows him as the face of the 5 and 5. So those guys are going to be inducted this coming next week at the Hall of Fame, and I'm planning on being there to the inductee ceremony.
Yeah, this is a great event. I wish I could attend, but due to work obligations, I won't be able to make it. But this is a sensational event, and again, I really wish I could be here, because this is something. This is us honoring us. Doug talked about this while he was on the show, and it seemed like it's being done in such a classy way. Being the sports fan that I am, knowing several of the inductees that'll be honored, I really wish I could be there. But I'm glad Coach Cole would be in attendance, and with it being in Atlanta, who knows? They may get a visit by the bishop.
Yeah, and that's Lenny Moon, one of the media personnel out of Houston, Texas. He has not only a lot to do with this Black College Hall of Fame, he also has a lot to do with the NFL Hall of Fame, who's a real great friend of mine.
Hey, Rocky, go up, because there's one person on this, well, several, but there you go. I want you to highlight Coach Pop Long. Yeah. And I just want you guys to understand something, how that down there at University of Texas and that team, I want you to understand before our athletes, listen to this. This man won 10 SWAC titles, 23, 27, 28, 29, 30, 32, 44, 45, 56, and 57. Rocket, those players were the players that couldn't get into the University of Texas. I want people to understand that. The level of talent that is down there. And that's why when I look at a prayer,
that's out in East Texas too, in Marshall.
Thank you. And to think about, because they did not have the opportunity, and we provide the opportunity to look at the powerhouse. And could you imagine the talent on that team to run through the SWAC and beat these people? And look at Texas, they would never, of course, back then it would never happen. And what they would have done to the University of Texas or Texas A&M with that level of talent probably on that team. So these are things that when you see forefathers like this, that's what I take pride in our history. Because, Coach, as you know, before, I'm glad all these guys get opportunities and they get NIL and they can go to Georgia and Florida and all blah, blah, blah. I get it. I understand it's a new world. But if it wasn't for Coach Pop Long, it would not be any of these guys that could do this. Yeah. That's the thing about it. So again, I just wanted to just point that out, because when I saw that, because I had heard, because again, you go to some of the old heads from Wiley College, they'll tell you about Coach Long and how they used to dominate the SWAC and everything. So that's why I just wanted to point that out. And again, Jacquez Nunley, part of the Rack Boys, hey man, it's a players coach, and it's several players on this list. Well, big time. Rasheed Matthews, an NFL guy, big time. Roger Camardi, NFL guy, Tennessee State. These are big names, big name football players, man. And these guys are NFL guys, Coach. These
and of course, this is probably the highlight of the induction, not because he's the best football player of all of them, because of what he means to the culture. Jay Scott Walker has, branded himself, in my opinion, or the culture has branded himself as Mr. HBCU football. And he does a great job when broadcasting those games on ESPN.
Yeah. I will say this. We respect Jay. We don't like Jay. That's more of a FAMU thing. Jay Walker's amazing. He does a great job. Shout out to Timothy Green, FAMU rally that he works with. But Jay definitely understands and he pushes the culture forward. And I like the fact that he does like to play the villain sometimes. He leans into it.
I'm gonna get him on the show.
Hey, that's what I was gonna say, Coach. Coach, if you can, Coach, if you can't get them, they can't be got, Coach. That's what I say. If you can't get them, they can't be got. But y'all, that is a great that's a great thing to have a Black College Hall of Fame, man. Again, maybe I can put this on my calendar in future years, and we can make it a whole thing, Coach. Because we were invited by Doug, and make sure you tell Doug I really wanted to be there. I just wasn't able to.
Yeah. Let me say this to you guys. And Todd said it as well on how they got some guys and kept some guys together. I hear a lot of coaches always talk about recruiting. And if we don't get this player, we got to pay this player. Now players is, I need an apartment, I need a house, I need a, and I told you guys, and I'll go to the moon with it, that programs beat talent all the time, and it's enough kids out there to find 22 that can play. You know what I'm saying? They might not have the size, but they got the wheel. You know what I mean? They might just need that one coach just to push them a little edge. They got the talent. They got the ability. It's about finding finding team players that one come and go. Do you have to have a couple studs? Yes, I'll be the last one to say you just can't go in there with a bunch of Army men. But it's enough players out there. You just got to be a good coach, understand and recognize talent, run a good tight ship program, making sure everybody think alike, be alike. You can't control whether they like each other. At least they'll like each other for 3 hours on Saturday, and that's what's important. So,
is there any truth? Is there any truth to this, Coach Cole?
No, but I can find out real quick. You know what I mean?
What about you, historian Campbell? Is there any truth to that?
Was Maryland James. Now that I don't know. I do not know that. I can't tell you that. But let me say this. If Emmett Jones said it, Emmett Jones, wait a minute, hold on. I'm gonna say this. Emmett ain't no youngster. He knows his SWAC history. So if Emmett said it, it probably is true. Because Emmett ain't new to this.
Reason why I'd never heard that before.
Yeah. No. I'm pretty. If Emmett's saying that, I'm pretty sure that's probably true.
And we talking James Shaq Harris, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, that's the 20. That's one of my favorites.
Hey,
Yeah.
I definitely have to call in that favor because I've been around all of them, and that never came up.
That
That's one of my favorites, man.
Hey, Coach, I want to ask you a question though before we get off. What do you think? Because I do hear this a lot, and this even happens at the Power 5 level. Why do you think there is a disconnect with schools and former players at some of the schools? Like I said, this even happens at the Power 5 level because I remember at the University of Miami at one time they said, "Oh, the guys wasn't coming back," and Florida State they wasn't coming back. You know, so I've heard this at various schools. What do you think that's about, Coach? What is that? When that is your lifeblood, there's no better recruiter than guys that play, especially championship guys that can come back and talk to the younger guy and also fire up the alumni. Because again, when you bring those guys back, the alumni actually went to school with them or saw them play. So why do you think there's a disconnect like that with the administration and former players?
It always about character and how you handle yourself coming through the program, you know. And if you know, y'all hear me always talk about if you're a cerebral player, you know, if you're a team guy, can I trust you once you leave the field? And I think that's the difference between HBCU on the coaching side as opposed to at the major schools. At the major schools, it's about win, win, win. And if you're an asshole, but you can perform on the field, then we're going to let you be an asshole all through the week, but on Saturday, we're going to still play you. Now, once I'm done playing with you, then I'm done with you. I hear a lot of kids, you know, I'm from Ohio, and I went to school with a lot of guys that played at Ohio State, even players after I left, they come back, and they say, you know, they have no connection with the school. You know what I mean? And that's all through the country. I mean, even when I was coming through and comparing my days at Texas Southern to guys I knew and started hanging out with from A&M and Baylor and Texas, it just ain't no comparison, you know. And I think if you're not cerebral, meaning, yeah, I want to know what the equipment guy do. I want to know what coaches do out after this. I want to know what goes on in putting the program together instead of just being a player. You know, come in, get dressed, go out, knock some head, then after that, I'm gone. So I think a lot of that has to do with the culture. And if you're not into the culture, then 9 times out of 10, once you get through playing, you're done. I mean, my brother was the first African-American captain at the University of Nebraska. Of course, they've never had a head coach in no sport, except for the interim in college football, and we've had him on our show. So if it ain't no culture and ain't nobody embracing you, I mean, what do you have? And then when some of the brothers do get embraced and do get into that realm, they just stay. They don't bring nobody with them. They'll be the only guy there or the only two there. When I was at the University of Cincinnati, they had 2 black coaches. You know, me on offense, one on defense. That's just how it is. That's just how it's been. Is it getting better? Yes. But it's baby steps. You know, it's baby steps. You asked the question of Rocky, Tim is like, man, we got all these great quarterbacks, which we do. You know, Shannon Harris and Torrenio Morgan and all these guys, man, that we've had come out of the SWAC, the MEAC, that are quarterback guys, gurus, had great careers, you know, and then they turn out and coach quarterbacks. We don't know nothing about them. If they don't talk on this show, what show do they have to talk on? And we the only HBCU show that actually talk to real coaches on a consistent basis.
And
So,
Coach, and that's a big, Coach, and that is such a big thing, because I got a phone call from somebody that played with Coach Totten, and just, you know, just hadn't talked to him or anything, and said, man, just to see him, you know, because he's like, hey, we were young guys, and to see him on this show, he said, man, I haven't seen him interviewed anywhere. I always wondered, you know what I mean? And he said, I hadn't seen it. And mind you, this is 40 years, and this is what, and again, and like I said, Rock, I know you just don't understand, but Coach understand, this is Willie Totten. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
Yeah. You know, and I'm saying that respect. This is Willie Totten.
Coach, you talking about a man threw for 5,300 yards.
And you talk about a name and what he brought to, I mean, he's a historical figure. That's the thing about it. And to interview him and to allow him to talk about, you know, again, for me to bring him through that 84 season, which was their magical season, and to him to talk about it in depth and things like that. So many people like, man, I just had to relive that. I remember that when they beat Jack State. I remember when they lost to Alcorn. I remember when they were scoring that 85 points. All these things.
I hate to even say this. Would you, if he graduated from your school and done all that, coach football, would you, if you had an athletic director's job open, would you give it to him?
Would I give it to Willie Totten?
Yeah.
Hell, I give him the shot. Yeah, they give everybody else a shot.
Well, Mississippi Valley didn't let him be the AD. His name is on the stadium. When the AD job opened up, he applied, he interviewed, and they did not give him the head.
Yeah, and let me say this. Okay, well, let me also say this.
That's us, though. See, that's us.
But hold on, but see, this is even worse about that. First of all, and no disrespect, but this is gonna be disrespect. It's Mississippi Valley. You don't have that many people of that high caliber with that name recognition. It'd be different again. If you Jackson State, you got a whole bunch of people that's applying for that job. You Florida A&M, you got a whole bunch of people applying for that job. You Southern, so just the fact that it's 50-60% of people. If Florida A&M, Jackson State, Southern open up, Texas Southern, you know what I'm saying? The name school, Alabama State, you got a whole bunch of people across the country. How many people, honestly, of that level of care and concern? And the man is educated. Okay, let's not get it twisted.
And he got Jerry Rice was going back. He made a call.
So
and his name is on the stadium. And you don't name him the athletic director?
Well, let me say this, guys. One thing that I think is sometimes how HBCUs miss the boat with their prominent alumni. I'll just say prominent alumni is they wouldn't let Willie Totten serve as an OC of Fort Valley without offering him a prominent role at Mississippi Valley, at least in the capacity of shaking hands and kissing babies, raising money for the school. They're not going to let him work for Fort Valley full time because they know what his value is to for Mississippi Valley. You understand what I'm saying? It's not that you're giving a guy a job. It's just that in the state of Mississippi, in college football, Willie Totten can get in rooms that just frankly other people can't get into. And I'm talking about those rooms where there's fundraisers, where there's supporters, where there are business opportunities. And at the end of the day, the name Willie Totten is most valuable to Mississippi Valley State.
Well, you know, it's everywhere. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, I ain't saying white is right.
RG3 was just giving a post at Baylor.
They do have a mechanism of what they do with their players. And most of the time lately, they've been black superstars. And they bring those guys back on campus. They make sure those guys show up at all the facilities. Even some of them have jobs, you know, side jobs. I don't see why we can't take that blueprint into HBCUs to help us raise money around the athletic department. You know, when you talk to people,
can I
like you
answer
said,
that, Coach? Wait a minute,
like
can I
you
answer
said,
that though?
Campbell,
Well, hold on.
that's a name that people know and familiar with.
Well, let me ask you this
Coach.
question. Coach, let me ask you this. How much do you think they should pay that guy?
How much do I think they should pay him?
Yeah.
Enough. You know, I'm always big on teacher salaries, $75,000. I mean, I understand the HBCU, you know, and what they have. Here's another thing, guys, and y'all can answer this. How come when you start winning at HBCU, all of a sudden money start coming everywhere? You can go buy a whole new set of jerseys.
But
you know,
but
you
Coach,
stay in a
wait a
better
minute,
hotel.
that's at every level, Coach. Now wait a minute now. I can show you, and this happened. No, listen. I can show when you see these little teams that go on those runs in the tournament, right? All of a sudden, money comes away. All of a sudden, people register school.
What
if you're losing, you're not making. I guarantee you, Vanderbilt that had this winning record this year beat Alabama. I bet this is the best fundraising year they've had in the last 20 years because they beat Alabama. I bet you.
I got that, but black colleges ain't having no fundraisers. With the money they start off with, 9 times out of 10 is the money they finish with.
Well, okay.
I think Coach Cole's point is.
You see what I'm saying?
Coach, let me say this.
You know the head coach. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say this because I want to reiterate what you're saying, Mr. Campbell. Coach, it's not that new money comes in. It's that the existing money is redistributed to athletics. You understand what he's saying? He's saying it's not because people are throwing money at the athletic department. It's because monies become available to athletics that weren't there available before.
Wait, okay.
But Campbell, you were right. When you're winning, everything is better. I'm saying as you win, you 2-0, you 3-0. Oh, y'all couldn't stay in the hotel last week, but since you're 3-0, y'all can stay in the hotel this week. Oh, we even got money so you can eat breakfast off campus than on campus.
But Coach, you kind of asked, wait a minute now, Coach. Now hold on. See, but it goes hand in hand. When you're winning, things start happening for you. People, alumni start saying, hey, you know what? I'm the manager at this hotel. I'm going to give y'all 20% so y'all can stay here. I'm going to make sure. Coach, I've seen it because I'm going to tell you the reason why. And I'm going to use Florida A&M. When we won that Celebration Bowl, right? If that AD had put out a QR code, she would have raised $2 million in 2 weeks. I'm telling you what I know. But because she did not have the understanding about fundraising, because Coach, that's a talent.
That's a skill.
You losing me, Coach. You missing what I'm saying. All this little extra money, you got to invest. You got to invest in trust. That's why it's important on picking who the head coach is. And you got to give him what he needs up off the front of it, on the front end. Then once he wins the championship, he can't pay his coaches. Then again, you go back to cutting him again. But you don't spend all this extra money because you don't roll through the season winning. The money you should have gave it to him on the front side.
Caller, are you live on air?
Be consistently a winner.
Hold on,
that's what I'm saying.
Hold on, let me reconnect you, bro. Hold on.
We got a caller. Rocky. You got a caller, Bishop?
I think so. I think Rocky's getting ready to connect somebody right now. But no, Coach, I understand that. Why do people, because what you're saying, if you invest up front, the return on investment would be great instead of nickel and diming me and then make it. Well, that's a show and prove.
Can you hear me,
Coach? Is that what?
It's a school right now, and I told the coaching staff now are fussing and fighting over.
Hello.
Before they went there, they cut their salaries $100,000.
Okay, I'm gonna bring you in a second.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah. I can. I'm the only one. I'm the only one that can hear you. So turn your background off. Right. Turn your background off so you can hear us on the phone. I'm about ready to bring you in. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I hear him, son.
All right. We got a caller. 5540. You're live on HBCU Coaches Corner. What's your name and where you calling from?
This is Chuck Hunt calling from Monroe, Louisiana. Good evening to you all. Yeah, I was just calling. It's interesting. Yeah, how are you doing, Coach Cole? It's interesting the guest that you all had on there.
Voice.
Oh yes, you had Willie Totten on. I watched him play. I was a little one back in the '80s, watching him and Jerry Rice and all those guys. Curtis DeBartoleben and guy from my hometown right here in Monroe, Alvin Calhoun. I see him there. He lives here in Monroe. And that's something you coached Leon Murray. I remember Leon Murray when he played at Seabird High School in Shreveport, Louisiana. I watched him play basketball in the state championship team in 1994. They beat up St. Augustine High School, all black male Catholic high school out of New Orleans for the state championship down at LSU. Yeah. And they hit on his team. Yeah, his teammate on that Seabird team, they went undefeated during the season. They lost in the playoffs. Was a guy played at Notre Dame named Arnaz Battle. He was the quarterback.
I remember Arnaz Battle.
He ended up becoming, played with the 49ers. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But, I'm not going to stay on long. But that's why I wanted to call it. It was interesting you bring Coach Totten on. Yeah, like I said, it's a long way from Mississippi Valley State. By the way, I have Coach Cooley's book here, The Making of a Football Legend. Archie Gunslinger Cooley. It's an interesting book. Nice photos.
Man, where did you get it from?
I'm gonna land on that one.
Where were you able to pick that book up at?
What I did, I ended up having to order it. I ordered it through, having to order it online through Walmart.
Oh, okay. I'll look that up.
Yes.
I'll look that up. Hey, thank you again, Chuck. We always appreciate you calling in.
Chuck,
all right, it's great conversing with you all. Okay.
Chuck.
Yeah, sure, Coach Cole.
Well, how do you feel about Mississippi Valley not hiring Willie Totten as their athletic director? You're a black college guy.
Oh no, I didn't go to the HBCU. My folks did. They went to Grambling. I didn't go to an HBCU, but I do
know the history. You know the history.
Oh, that makes me wonder. Yeah, that's a great question. What you all were just talking about is something that you don't do it. Think about the historical white schools, what they do for their alumni players, and that is strange that they didn't put him in positions like that. Honoring, you have a stadium named after him and Jerry Rice, and it's something is like my mother always say, something's wrong with this picture.
Right. I appreciate it. I appreciate your answer. I feel the same.
Oh
way.
Man, no problem.
All right, thank you.
No
for calling
problem.
in.
It's great conversing with you all as always. You take care.
Thank you for calling
in.
Nice night. Thank you for calling in, Chuck.
Hey, Kevin.
Right.
Yes, sir.
All right.
We got another call, Coach.
You ain't saying nothing about my background.
Well, Coach, listen, man.
I'm trying to catch up, man. You got
the Cartiers up there, Coach. The Cartier buffs. The whole listen, man. Listen.
I'm working on my background, baby.
Hey, listen. That's Brandon right there, Coach.
Hey, Coach, we got a call 0527. You're live on HBCU Coaches Corner. What's your name and where you calling from?
All right, thanks for taking my call, man. Hey, this is FAMU KJ.
Hey, what's up, FAMU KJ?
All right, what's up, man? Hey, I was listening to Brother Snake there, Mr. Campbell, asked a question about why is it that we have a lack of for players feeling like they're a part of the former players feeling like they're part of the program, but it's former athletes. But one of the things I saw my man EA comment in the chat, I'm a former Rattler. And one of the things, man, that you cannot do that's so different than what was back in the 80s and 90s was that you had coaches that were there sometimes 7, 8, 9 years and ADs that were in place for quite a period of time. When you have that, now you have a kind of foundation in which players can reach back, can come up, even coaches reaching out to former players saying, man, come up and talk to the team. When you have turnover, like, say, for example, FAMU has had with multiple ADs. Again, those people, they have no clue of, say, Jacquez Nunley, who just went in. You know, that like I saw where EA said that, say, OBG, and I don't want to be picking at her, but I'm just saying she has no idea who Jacquez Nunley is. Or if you're talking about say a guy like a Gene Atkins or some of these former players that have played, and they have no idea. And many of them, like I say, they want to start their own legacy. They're not looking at trying to piggyback on a legacy of a former AD that's almost kind of giving them shine. So they want to come in, get started, start their own legacy. And many of the players are cut off. A perfect example, the national championship team for Florida A&M, those guys are so disconnected from the university. It's ridiculous, man. I've seen guys come up to the university, their trophy pictures, all that kind of stuff is standing there. They won't even let them into the field house. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy. And, I know for myself, some other guys, we don't take it. We try to make sure that we, get ourselves in a situation where we introduce ourselves to the coaches or whatever. But you got some of these old schools, you better know who I am. Like I said, I don't know, like coach is a Kappa, right? If Coach came back to the frat house and y'all don't know who he is, it's going to be some problems. So in the same way, you have to make sure that legacy is shown. That's why UM was so powerful back in the day. They made sure that those guys knew who those former Hurricanes were. Those Hurricanes, they came back and they made sure they were invited. When you saw the downfall of UM, it's when they started cutting ties with those guys. The program went downhill. So that's why when you have turnover and you have multiple presidents who wants to do different things a different way, multiple ADs, coaches are fired after 2 or 3 years, you're not going to have that kind of welcoming and you go have guys. And see, this is the other thing, even for recruiting, and I'm going to get off from this one. When you have guys who have been a part of the program, that's your lifeblood a lot of times in the state. So many of those guys go on to be coaches at high schools, assistant coaches that can send you players. But if they feel that they've been disconnected or they don't have any contact with the program anymore, many of those, they go ahead and send the guys somewhere else.
Hey, KJ, don't hang up.
And I've seen that happen.
Don't hang up. I want to ask you a question about that. So and I'm going to speak on family. We'll talk about all ADs. So what do you think? Because I think it's very interesting what you just said about Jaquez Nelson. I think that's a great analogy, right? You got somebody that comes in there and just no disrespect, like they just wouldn't know because they weren't there, right? What do you think about HBCUs with ADs and during football season and basketball season, even baseball season, where it might not be homecoming, but you know how we have high school day, right? And everything. And maybe during high school day, we also have football alumni day. Well, that's the day designated when we bring those guys back, honor them at the, just like what we do at homecoming. And this is the class of this. This is the class of this. And bring them out during during the middle of the field and things like that. Do you think that would help? Because I know also FAMU of the Football Alumni Association. So do you think that would help where you say, hey, we've got a game every year where it's for the football or wherever, basketball to bring them back and there'll be that game? What do you think about that idea?
I think that's an excellent idea and it's been brought up. Now, here's the issue. That AD has to be willing to go. Is that a priority for you? Or is it more so of a priority? Well, yeah, okay, we'll get to it or whatever. And if it's not that AD's priority or that AD does not have ties to FAMU and understand how important that is, it's going to be on the back burner. Something else, another idea is going to come up.
KJ.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to piggyback off what you said, because what you said is so prevalent and it's so true in Black colleges, and we don't understand. Running an athletic program is like running a relay, but it's not running a relay because of just what you said. We hire outside people sometimes, or we even hire our own that don't understand that you come in and you build off of what the other alumni done. There's got to be some traditions in place. There got to be some seniority in place. There's got to be some people that's been around the program to know. For instance, at Texas Southern, we've changed our logo on our helmet every time we get a new AD. We'll come in and we'll change everything. We never sit down. It's so true that I just had this conversation with somebody on the HBCU Hall of Fame committee, and he brought up the 1978 Florida A&M football team that's not in the Hall of Fame. That's the first Division I AA school and black school to win a national title. He brought up the 98, 99 Tennessee State football team. They don't understand how important it is to bring history forward and not leave it where it is. And as you say, it's your sounding board. And we as black folks, we don't understand that.
Coach Cole, let me just say something. Let me
start over. Oh, that's how they used to do it. I'm gonna do it a certain way.
Let me say something, guys. Like at PWIs, at some, because I don't know all of them, they have what's called Letterman's Club, and they're all named something different. Right. But this Letterman Club serves as almost like a concierge service to all the Lettermen that played in all sports at the school. And what I mean by that, you can go through the Letterman's Club to get tickets, gain access to the booth. They have events every home game honoring either a team of another sport or have a luncheon before or during the game. Like they have a particular way in which they honor their past athletes each and every game. It's not
okay. I want to interrupt you right there, Coach.
Go ahead.
I want to interrupt you right there. Those guys, that's been put in place for so long that everybody knows the system. At black colleges, that ain't that. As an AD,
preach.
You gotta make the past the present. If you want to make some dollars, if you want to get people to come, and we're just not willing to do that, right? We don't do that. Each AD come in with his group of own people, shun everybody else, not necessarily on purpose, because it's a big job. But you got to make it a priority to reach back and bring those teams back. You got to. You got to make it a
like
priority.
I say, I've went with several of my friends to the one they have at Baylor, and if it's a 3:00 game, they know to show up at 12. There's a lunch or a brunch there. If it's a morning game, they know to show up at 9. There's a lunch, there's a brunch. You know what I mean? It's for the Letterman and their guests. You know what I mean?
You missing my point though. Every AD that has came in before that started, when that started,
that's not going anywhere.
That's a part of the athletic department, and that is written in stone. No matter who is the AD.
I don't know who funds it. I don't know if it's the athletic department, the alumni association. I don't know who funds it or who puts it together, but it's a part of every game. They have that. And guess what, guys? Here's the reality, KJ. A lot of times those former athletes, some of those athletes become some of the most prominent, successful members of the alumni. And because they were treated well their entire life by FAMU, guess what? They leave when they pass on the glory. They leave FAMU a little bit.
No.
Let me piggyback on that. Let me just piggyback on what you just said. In the last 5 NBA drafts, this is crazy now.
I know he's about to go. Hold on, KJ, wait, let me set this up because I want you to listen to what he's about to say because I know what he's about to say. Listen to this crazy. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. In the last 5 NBA drafts, we have had former FAMU basketball players have sons who have been drafted in the first and second round of the NBA draft. And if you talk to them, they will tell you, man, I wanted to send my son to FAMU. Unbelievable, man. Matter of fact, we actually had another guy who had a son who was a first-round draft pick out of Alabama to go on. He just got drafted by the Buffalo Bills in the first round. He wanted to send his son to FAMU. This is the kind of craziness, man, that we're talking about not being able to connect and keep the former players in lockstep with the program. I mean, the last 5 NBA drafts, man, we've had a guy have a son in those drafts. It's unbelievable, man.
Well,
unbelievable.
Emmett Jones, that's crazy. Emmett Jones brings up something. It says, Rocky, HBCUs don't have the infrastructure in place like white schools. Again, how much infrastructure do you need to have some chicken nachos and brisket sliders and some Coca-Cola and maybe a couple beers in a suite, so the former players can come in early and congregate, tell lies, have the AD speak to them, have the alumni person speak to them, and then the other perk is they get to bring a friend. How much infrastructure do you need to have that?
Well, you need to have it upstairs. You need to have it about your program. It needs to be in place no matter who comes.
They're not feeding them filet mignon.
No matter who comes and take over as an athletic director or as a president or whoever is over a vice president of student affairs, that these things are in place to stay forever. That's who. It's got to be a part of your system in your program.
Hey, I want to jump on something that KJ said, because what's crazy now, and I knew where he was going with this, but here's the thing, and Rocky, what you just said about the prominence of these people that play sports. Those guys, and they know this, I got to get this degree because I got to be something. My mama will make sure I get this degree. Now, if I go pro, whatever, which we know it kind of slimmed down, but here's the thing that I think was most important. When you create those connections, and if you know what, even if I know you're going to Alabama, I'm still going to send you a scholarship offer. Just so you know.
Right.
I'm still going to send it to you.
Right.
Just so you know, because you know the one thing I know, and I'm going to tell you the school that does this the best is, and Coach, you know this, is Grambling. Grambling gets more players because of former players than any school in the SWAC. Because their former players are so locked into that school and what that school needs, they will come. And like I said, people, X81 ain't like a great place. But they can get those kids to come because those guys, and KJ knows this, they go and coach, they see other players, they're involved in AAU, they know what the players look like.
Here's an example, Coach. When I was the head coach of Texas Southern, I had 8 kids on my team that fathers that I played with. Whether I gave them a dime or $100 or $200 or $300, because I knew that was important. We had a machine gun killer. The shooter, the shooter that we had led the nation in scoring. His daughter and son came out playing basketball. Did we offer him a scholarship in Texas Southern? We should have found a scholarship to give to them. We don't do a good job of that, man. We don't. We don't do a good job of keeping our athletes around and honoring and respect them. It's a way to do it. I get it. You know what somebody gonna jump on here and say, well, you got to buy some tickets. I get that. You do got to sell and buy tickets. But when you look at a 25,000 seat stadium and only 2,500 people in there, there's 23,500 seats available. So you're going to have to make some room for some special people who have given their all to the university. And that's the only way we can turn it around.
Hey, Coach, and this is the thing, let me just say this much. It can rub people the wrong way, and I'm just going to say this much. If I'm walking around with a hip replacement and a knee replacement or a shoulder replacement from playing football at FAMU, I'm going to have a problem with that. I mean, and I'm being very, very real, because when Jake was talking about blood, sweat, and tears, there's some guys left it there. They left it there. Some guys are still, I wouldn't be surprised, some guys might feel that they might have a little CTE because of the head knocking and everything that was going on out there on those fields. And some guys will take, and I understand what you're saying, but there are some guys who would say, hey man, look at my hands, man. I still can't even make a fist because my knuckles are cracked from out there playing football back in the day. And some guys take that the wrong way when you're telling me I got to buy a ticket and I gave it everything out here. And I'm still suffering from it today.
Why you can't invite the championship track team in 1983 back or 1985 or the football team that won a championship or just play well? I mean, you got to make all
Guys, I'm
that
gonna clear the line. Let somebody else call in. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
You know the interesting thing about those Letterman's Club or whatever, B Foundation, whatever they call it. You know the interesting. You know who's mainly there in those suites or at those lunches? The guys that didn't play a lick.
Well, yeah, they're fans.
You know what I mean? The guys that were walk-ons, the guys that were, you know what I mean? But they get to see all the guys that were their teammates occasionally, and they absolutely eat that stuff up, man, because they were part of something. And you guys know at Baylor, some of those teams didn't win. Some of those teams was sorry as hell. But those guys come back and they'll tell you, when did you play? Oh, I played from 2001 to 2005. You know, and then, you know, because I know the history of the school. I know they didn't win a lot. But on Saturday, you can't tell them that, you know, because they have a Baylor degree. They have a connection to the school. They got their kids and their wife in that I guess it's more or less a meeting room, and they're eating pizza and brisket sliders and nachos, and they're having a good time and telling old stories.
Okay, okay, Rocky, we ain't selling Baylor no more.
No, what I'm saying is I don't think that's hard. I don't think that's hard to do for an institution like a FAMU or TSU or Alabama A&M. I don't think that's a hard lift to have something every home game for those players that lettered in various sports. You're not talking about a large population of people.
Yeah.
Well, Rocky,
Yeah.
I will say this, and again, some of the challenges are just, I think what we want is to always honor and treat our former athletes, our alums, I mean, no matter who they are, very well. What I will say, though, to this, as somebody that has had to organize stuff, it is, I want to tell you this, because I do our class reunions, right, for FAMU, for my class. And, bro, it's a lot of work. It is, I'm going to just tell you something. It ain't just rolling out food and you just showing up. And I'm talking about it starts at 5 in the morning and goes all the way that you got to make sure. So it does require some staffing.
Yeah, of course.
In that. So what I will say too is with a lot of our schools that are very stretched thin with athletics, I think that's where it comes to play. That's why I think it's better potentially where you do one game and you have all the guys come back, because you can do that and then you can manage it better.
So to your point, I don't even know how it's funded. I don't know if it's funded by the athletic department or if it's funded by the alumni association. It could be a combination of the two.
I would usually I'm gonna tell you something. I know for Florida State, it's the Booster Club that pays for that.
Man, it could be the Booster Club as well.
Booster Club pays for that.
Yeah.
They put it all on because the boosters want to meet. Because see, what happens is it's a cycle, right? The Booster Club pay for it because they want to meet these guys, take pictures with them, and that's how they got to make that little handshake money. You know what I mean? Taking pictures. They have all this stuff. I know that's what they used to do with Bobby Bowden. So I don't know what's going on now.
It could be the Booster Club. It could be the Booster Club over there as well. I just know I've accompanied a few of my friends over there.
It's simple, man. It's simple. I mean, I even had every Friday night come up to my suite. If you was alumnus, ex-football player, I would have my suite open from 9 to 11 to come on up and we could talk football, say hello. Shit, people came up, wrote checks, sit down. Had we had what we call a start of the year banquet, honor the senior cheerleaders, drummers, and football players. It's just so many things that you could do. But if you don't have that in your repertoire, if you don't think that's important, that's where we get lost at. And then here come another AD. They're gonna start their own stuff. No, I ain't doing that. Then you might hire a bad one. He don't care about but wearing suits. If an athletic director ain't got a bunch of fundraisers going on and he ain't out trying to reach the fallen players or whatever you want to call it, I just don't think he's worth his salt. I think he's sitting on the mountain waiting on you to climb up to the mountain instead of him climbing down and helping you up. I just think that's what those positions are for.
Well, Rocky, I will say this. You know what's pretty cool about the HBC Coaches Corner? We have a lot of ADs that watch this show. And what you're going to find at this time next year, I guarantee you'll see a Paul Bryant, my guy down there at Prairie View, AD Suggs, Ashley Robinson, those guys that are forward thinking and stuff like that. I think Jack State actually does it. So I got to give it. I think they do it.
I imagine they do.
Yeah, I think they're very open and for their.
They need to pull out those red seats again. That's what I want to do.
Pull the red seats. So now I think.
When I was the head coach, we did what we call a football week. We did something every day. Went to the hospital. We played volleyball. It was kind of like fundraising. We had a toga party. We had a pool party. It was a function all week. That came out my staff. Then we threw my own golf tournament where we went out and raised money and funds and stuff to have the golf tournament. Then we threw the Hall of Fame, Football Hall of Fame, and we was able to buy the rings and watches. But we went out and raised money, and we done that ourselves. It's just things that supposed to go. And I picked a lot of that stuff up from the University of Cincinnati when I was there. But those things happen no matter who is the head coach, who is the AD. These are the things that you need in your program to make everybody feel a part. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Coach, you really hit home with that, Coach. And I don't have nothing else, Coach. This has been a great show. We had the head coach of the DC Defenders on, Shannon Harris. If you guys happened to miss Coach Harris's interview, please go back into the very beginning of this broadcast on the replay, and you'll see a very impressive young man who's the head coach of the DC Defenders. You may, and like Mr. Campbell said, you may even, if you're an AD or somebody in the higher capacity, you may find somebody you might want to put on your short list. But with no further ado, I don't have anything else, Coach. Mr. Campbell, you got anything?
No, man, I did my part. Like I say, man, I just want to thank Coach Cole once again for allowing the opportunity. And I want to thank all the coaches that come on because it's been a highlight to talk to them. And I want the coaches to know that we're here to support them. We're here to support the schools. And we're always going to try to be a positive light and beacon. So, Coach, thank you for the opportunity. And thanks to the coaches that come on.
Yeah. Hey, again, like to thank my coaching family. All the coaches either have came under me or coached against me or with me. Think most of all the people come and watch the show every week. Continue to watch the show. We're trying to make it bigger and better and make sure that we heard. I think it's very important, that we put our stamp on this game called football and this organization called athletics. Appreciate this opportunity. And like I said, life is good and life is great. It's only great as you want it to be. And sometimes when you hit them lows, but if you feel yourself at the end of the rope, you're tired out and you're hold on tighter.
And I won $500 on the lunch for keeping up with the Jonas Bracket Challenge.
BS3 Network. Changing the way you watch TV.